Later in the day, we met who turned out to be a Pakistani law student at Harvard Law School, second-year student, who had a perspective on the world, on Pakistan, on the U.S., perspective about economy, about politics, about culture. Really educated guy, and spoke very fast, um, and had a real sense about what he wanted to do in the world. He revealed towards the end of our talk about wanting to be involved in immigration law. And I think as a law student, he's already doing that. He knew that it was a tough thing. He knew that's a very difficult, challenging area of law. He also knew that he wants to live in New York City. Why? Because he loves the city. And he had the kind of, sophisticated personality that would do well in New York. He had that personality type that seemed to be very focused, knew where he was going, knew where he wanted to go, and had the energy to go do it. So he was there walking around. Now, that weekend was Parents' Weekend for Harvard University. And I think he was there on his own. I imagine that his family is back in Pakistan. I never asked him that. But most of the people we ran into were there with parents for the Parents' Weekend. And I think it was good that we met Usman on his own. Good conversation, very stimulating. My name's Johnny.
Hi, Johnny. Nice
What's
to meet
your
you. Usman.
Usman.
Yes.
Good name. Okay, what does it mean by it? It's an Arabic name.
Yes, it is. It is the name of one of Islam's central caliphs
Oh, really?
in the early history of Islam.
In the
yes.
early side. Okay.
I don't know the exact meaning. People have told me different things.
Right. They tell you everything. So, we're talking about, so I've got a real open mind. I have a lot of curiosity.
Mhm.
And I've been talking to people throughout the square and many other places. So I have a YouTube channel. I'm going to give you the card in a minute. And the point is to talk about things with an open mind
Mhm.
and in a nuanced way, because there's way too much sloganeering
Mhm.
and polarization
Mhm.
and disinformation, all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't have to be about politics. We can talk
Sure.
about anything.
Sure.
So what's most on your mind these days, not just today, but in general?
A lot of work.
Okay. You mean for school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Where are you at?
I'm at the law school here.
Oh, in Harvard Law. Okay.
Yeah.
What year are you in?
Second year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know.
I see you're also a JD. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I'm not practicing. But
Oh, gotcha. No, you escaped. Good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously everything happening in the world, it's very difficult to talk about it because it's a very charged environment.
And at the law school too.
Yeah, everywhere basically, right?
But also at the law school, I believe.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
it's been in the news, right?
Right.
But hopefully, at the end of the day, it's about living in a world where people don't have to suffer in the way that they're suffering
Yeah.
on either side. And
Well, not just in Israel, Palestine,
Yeah.
but everywhere.
Sure. Yeah, it's a difficult time. It's a difficult time. It's a polarized time. You look at what's happening in Europe at the moment.
Yeah.
Back home.
What you mean, Ukraine and Russia, or what else?
Just the results of elections over the last few years in Europe is a specific signal to the rest of the world as far as what that continent is feeling. And, beyond back home in Pakistan as well, it's an extraordinary period of instability. What's
going on there? Are you from Karachi or where?
I live in Lahore. I was born in Karachi.
Okay.
But it's just an extraordinary period after, and alongside political instability, there's a lot of economic instability in a way that hasn't been seen in the past. There's a lot of political back and forth. There was a recent constitutional amendment that's pretty problematic.
Because it's mostly religious.
No, it's not religious. It handicaps the judiciary back home in a specific way, or at least it can come off as that.
Yeah. And people are upset about that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Of course, yeah.
And so, yeah, absolutely. I think we are living in a time of flux and probably going to become more flux regardless of the results of the election. But in the United States.
The election there.
Yeah, here.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'm most worried about.
Sure.
So how about you, in terms of worried about it? Seeing it as maybe threatening.
I think, as an F1 student, as an international student, it will impact me in pretty significant ways.
Such as?
Let's say, if Trump wins.
Yeah.
Because I think Trump policies
So Usman is talking about the fact that in the United States has a very complex immigration system. And there is a category for students called F1. There's all kinds of hoops, obstacles you have to jump through. So what he's saying is that if Trump gets elected, it's going to be more difficult for immigration, including for people like him. So he's definitely rooting against Trump for very specific reasons, but also, I'm sure, for larger reasons as well.
Have been more strict towards students in the past.
Right.
I think I did not do the Fulbright, but I remember my friends who did the Fulbright talking about how attitudes towards them changed once the Trump administration came in. And I mean,
and they're still here? Your friends?
Yeah, I mean, they've done their Fulbrights and they're back home.
Okay. Yeah.
But certainly the Trump administration has a harsher stance towards.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he said it. He has said it outright.
Yeah.
He's not hiding.
No, absolutely not. He doesn't hide much.
Yeah. Well, do friends of yours talk about that? Not just you, but do a lot of people talk about that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you could be worried about that.
Of course. Yeah,
okay.
Of course.
Do you understand that Americans who are not pro-Trump can also be really, really worried?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know.
You do?
Yeah, I mean, at the law school, right? And there's a lot of conversations about the elections and anxiety around the elections.
Yeah.
And I actually cannot believe how close it is.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. You would think, right. And so it's worrisome because you wonder what's going on in the American head, not just individual, but collectively.
Yeah, I guess people just don't feel that, like, either they feel they're compartmentalized in some way and there's no conversation to be had, or they just feel that neither party, I mean, a significant portion of this country does not vote.
Yeah.
I like the United States. I like American culture in general. I think people are generally open and nice and mostly positive here.
Okay.
I hope to work in New York someday, which is my favorite city on the planet.
Oh, okay.
Just love New York.
Because you want to work for a big law firm. Or not necessarily.
I want to work in immigration work, which is what I'm doing at the law school currently. I have done that in the past back home. That's my long-term goal.
And he knows right here, Johannes, who's from Colombia, but has been living in Miami.
Right.
And he knows how outrageously hard it is to deal with the immigration system.
Yeah.
What can you say about that?
It's very worrying how both parties seem to be campaigning on anti-immigrant rhetoric.
Yeah.
I think it's disappointing how much the Democratic Party has
caved in.
Yeah. They feel, I think it's just to be generous to them, it seems like a electoral choice.
Right.
But I don't think this country is as immigrant as people make it out to be.
It's not as anti-immigrant?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Right? Like, no doubt. I work in the immigration system, and so I know the hurdles that people face and all.
Right.
In this way or that. But in general, I think there is a world where, and that world was in 2016, right? The Democratic Party was way more pro-immigrant back then because
right.
Or 2020 rather.
Right. Because they weren't scared of Trump.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But so that's very disappointing, and that also brings us back to like Europe overall. I would say the
they're
anti-immigrant rhetoric is
they're also pushing against immigrants. Yeah.
Which is it's a false. It's just a distraction from other structural issues.
Yeah, and it also my brother lives in Sweden, which, as you know, has been one of the most progressive social democratic countries in the world. And they started going to the right because of anti-immigrant policies. Yeah. So it really covers a lot, as you know. Yeah. Well, I hope you're doing well.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I gave you the card.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Take it.
All right. Tell everybody they have to listen. Okay. Take care.
All right. Have a good day.
Okay. Bye-bye. How was that? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had already turned.